Well, good morning. It's your buddy Ryan here, joining you from the Moondance Homestead in Central California. I just wanted to talk to you real quick about a topic that's pretty close to my heart. Today, I'm going to be planting all of my greens outside, my cold weather greens. But before I do so, I wanted to take a look and show you my front yard. Now, I'm very proud of this, and it may not look like a prize-winning yard, and it never will be. But what it is it's sustainable, it's low water usage, and it's all mine. When I moved here, this was literally hardpan soil, guys. So, I just kept a little bit of it so I could have it as an example. But around my kids' play area, you can see where they're running all the time. Nothing has gotten a chance to grow, and that's fine because I want my kids to have a nice play area. And, eventually when they grow up, there will be grass here. But the whole front yard initially was like this: hardpan soil covered with plastic netting. And there's a few reasons why that's a problem. First of all, as I've mentioned many, many times, I live in the windswept mountains of Central California. So that means we have a lot of wind, okay? So a lot of people up here will do projects like this where they scrape their entire property. They could have 2, 3, 5 acre plots. They buy a little bobcat and don't know what to do with it. So they'll scrape the top 5 inches of their soil across their whole property. And a lot of people here, since we're 2.5 hours from Los Angeles, are retirees from the big city, or people who just got burnt out there, and they'll move here and decide, oh, I want this to look nice and clean, just like the city. So they'll either plant a Kentucky bluegrass front yard, overwater it, and be upset when it doesn't work out the way they want it to, or it takes a ton of water because the wind is constantly evaporating our soil, or they'll do the full property scrape and do something like this. So plastic netting is an erosion prevention tactic that people use. But you know what makes an even better netting, guys? Is plants. They're full of roots. So this stuff here is what I've done. So how did we go from hard pan soil to this, where I've got a mixed stand of wildflowers, native grasses, and I never water the thing? Well, it was pretty simple, but it took some patience. So for the first 2.5 years of living here, what I've done is I've systematically taken all of my rabbit manure, quail manure, chicken manure, and once a year, I cover this entire front yard with it. And what that'll do is you're not only providing the nutrients from the manure, but you're also providing mulch. So one thing I've noticed in this area where I live is anywhere where there's a little mulch on the ground, life is able to take a foothold. Reason being is that the sun is super bright, the wind is super strong, and gosh, our plants just need a little bit of a shield. So you can see, like in this area, I haven't mulched at all because this is just where the leaves from my tree accumulates. And what's happening here now that's covered in leaves? Grass is growing out, it's coming to seed, and eventually when it turns dry and brown in a couple months, I'm going to mow it all down and mulch back over it, and we'll be ready for next year's seasonal grass. And that's kind of the way it is here. We have grasses in the spring, and then later in the summer when it gets real hot, we get mustards. We can get wildflowers almost all the time throughout the year. And rather than trying to exclude things like weeding plants that come up, we have to understand that, okay, you start out with a hard pan soil. What's going to come in there? Well, plants that really like hard pan soil. So they're going to be things like dandelions that'll put a big taproot down and, get deep into the soil, break up that soil. And then as soon as you get enough dandelions, guess what? The conditions are less favorable for dandelions because they have broken down your soil and it is no longer the hard pan that they like to live in. And so things come in kind of a succession. So this front yard, if you could have seen it over the past few years, The first year, all that came in was mustard greens. There's wild mustard greens that live all over here, and they absolutely love that arid hardpan soil. Then what comes in next is things like wild chamomile. We have a variety here called pineapple weed, colloquially. That'll come in. Some of these red guys, if you see that little bit of red on the ground, those like to come in the barren areas. You can see, eventually some crabgrasses and things start pollinate or colonizing. So a variety of things come in, and rather than trying to spray or scrape and control for exactly what I've wanted, I've added a mixture of dryland pasture seed. Okay, I've let what naturally comes in come in, and I've added wildflower seeds everywhere. So we'll get those natural dryland loving wildflowers. You can see some of the purple coming in here, some of the more tiny, like baby's breath kind of stuff, all over. And effectively, we let nature take its course. Once this all goes to seed in a few weeks, I'm going to mow it down. We'll mulch back over it with more manure, and then next time it gets wet or it rains, more stuff will come up. I don't water any of this. I just enjoy it as it comes. And so far, it's working. You can see, we have a nice layer of mulch underneath. Look at that. We're forming some actual soil here. Okay? So that's kind of my final word on this. Just if you keep at it, and just mulch and let nature take its course, eventually your soil will heal itself. It may seem a little crazy, and your neighbors may not like it if you have a front yard full of dandelions and mustard greens your first year, but eventually you can end up with kind of a nice looking stand of green grass like this. And a little later down the line, I'll do an update video for you when you can see all the wildflowers coming in for the year. At any rate, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go ahead and plant all my kale and cabbages for now, and I hope you just have a great rest of your day.